PM Cares, the battle of transparency, what happened today? So the Supreme Court refused to order the transfer of PM Cares fund to the NDRF. Now this was actually a petition that was filed by an NGO in the Supreme Court. The SC has said that no exception can be taken to Prime Minister Cares at this hour. They cannot object to funds to PM Cares to deal with COVID. And the Supreme Court also said, and this is an important quote, funds collected by PM Cares and those of charitable trusts are entirely different. Now, this is the point that has been made by the Supreme Court. Now, what did the BJP say? See, the whole debate is around whether PM Cares is transparent enough or not. Have we cared enough for transparency? So the BJP says transparency is writ large in PM Cares fund. It's very, very important to us and it is writ large. The BJP also says that legal requirements and transparent management of funds is taking place. PM Cares trustees are public and not private individuals. Of course, you know what that comparison is all about. And they say that audits are done and information is available on the website. That is BJP's version. What does the Congress say about the transparency of PM Cares? They say that the court decision today is a body blow to transparency and accountability. Why do they come to this conclusion? They say that the Supreme Court scrupulously believed that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Court passed an opportunity to demand answers on PM Cares, and PM Cares seeks public money, but it plays by its own opaque and murky rules. That's the explanation that the Congress party gives. Now, PM Cares and Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, this debate, punch counter punch between the BJP and the Congress continuously goes on, where the BJP says that Rajiv Gandhi Foundation had a budgetary provision, which means the central government had allocated some funds. It's a family-run fund which is funded by the government, and NDRF had transferred money to the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. So what business does the Congress have to say anything? Now, the government also, and this is our last point before we kickstart our discussion, the government on its part has explained PM Cares versus NDRF. Why is there a need for a separate fund? So here is the government's explanation. They say that the PM National Relief Fund was formed in 1948. What was the purpose of that fund? The fund was meant to help refugees who were coming to India. That was the original purpose. But the fund was also used for disaster management, which was its use up until recently. PM Cares is a registered trust dedicated for COVID-19, and 50,000 ventilators have been bought using PM Cares fund. So that is a crucial point that the BJP has explained on its part. But the larger question still remains on its transparency. So this is round one in the Supreme Court to the BJP. But does it answer that question on transparency? Let's introduce our guest this evening. Vivek Reddy, leader of the BJP, is with us. Sanjay Hegde is with us. He's a senior advocate. And Supriya Shinath, national spokesperson of the Congress party. Supriya, let's begin with you first. The Supreme Court has refused to intervene as far as this petition is concerned. Would you still maintain that there is opaqueness, lack of transparency in PM Cares?
Without a doubt, I will reassert that there is complete lack of transparency. There is absolute opacity as far as the PM Cares fund is concerned. And I think as a free citizen, I enjoy the right to critique a judgment without casting any personal aspersions on anybody who's delivered the judgment, and I will do so. Because unlike anything else, you know, in your introduction, I'm glad you made that introduction, you were talking about how the BJP is jumping about the RGF. Unlike any other fund, the Prime Minister's Care Fund is money collected from the public, for the public, administered by the Prime Minister's office. So there is public involved everywhere. The only private citizen involved there is the auditor. I mean, how big is this irony? Is there going to be any other fund that will not be, judged or audited by the CAG? Absolutely not. So I will once again raise my hand and say there is absolute lack of transparency, and this cannot be, and I will go back to using...
But what do you have to say about the Supreme Court's observation? I mean, the Supreme Court has made it very clear. They say funds collected by PM Cares and those of charitable trusts are entirely different.
Okay, you know, Sanket, I am legally illiterate And I wish somebody on this panel, I think Sanjay Hegde will be best placed, if he can explain to me some parts of the 75-page judgment. I mean, the government in its stand says it is a trust, but it is not a trust. So I actually find a lot of lacunae in the government's arguments. As far as the Supreme Court is concerned, I think the court has made a very, very big departure.
Okay.
The court had a big opportunity to hold every penny accountable as far as public money is concerned. They have in the past, whether it is 2G or any other issue in the past, they have made a very big departure. They have let gone of an opportunity where they could have made public money accountable. Every penny should be accountable because this is money collected from the public. This is money collected from people's salaries, daily salaries.
Sure.
Vivek
Reddy,
Railways.
Vivek Reddy, you've heard what the Congress party has to say. They feel that there is absolutely no transparency in PM CARES fund. I want to ask from you, do you think that, you're defending yourself fine. There was a huge press conference by the IT minister. All of that is fine, right? You've got a round one which you have won because of the Supreme Court. That is also fine. But in the interest of transparency, should there not be an ongoing exercise to make this process more and more and more transparent so that people know more about the money, the funds collected and where they have been spent?
Well, Sanket, I think, let me tell you one thing. The Congress or those who have filed this public interest litigation are always on a wrong step. If ever there is one thing that you cannot challenge in this government, please don't challenge its transparency. If you have any dissent regarding policies, if the opposition has any issues regarding the way things are approached, well, let them question it. But I think it's wholly farcical, wholly misleading to challenge
Many would
this
say that's very
government on
presumptuous.
transparency. Let me tell you one thing. Let me just complete. The same thing was done for Rafale, and you see what happened.
Let's talk about
Nobody
the
could
Prime
point
Minister's
out
fund,
any
yeah.
instance in Rafale, and that's what the Supreme Court said. Now, this is another witch hunt. And what the Congress is doing is, because it cannot win the turf war in elections, it cannot entice the electorate in India.
talk about
What the
money.
Congress is
Let's
doing
talk
today
about
is
one by
raising
one.
these bogeys and raising these falsehoods.
So the BJP says that this is nothing but a nefarious design. I guess these words were used by the BJP chief also, that this is a nefarious design of the Congress party which has collapsed.
And
Sanjay
why
Hegde,
is it done? Why is it done?
Okay,
Let's not
why
lose
is it
out on
being
that.
done? Why is it being done?
Because-
Vivek Reddy says that because
they
you
want
can't
to create some
electorally
sort
win,
of a
that's why you're
doubt and
doing all
blemish
this.
on the government.
Okay.
They have not
Sanjay
been
Hegde,
able to make any inroads.
let's come back
with
to
their
the
credibility.
let's come back to the original point that is being made over here, and that original point is whether PM CARES funds in its present form are transparent enough or not. See, the Supreme Court has refused to intervene as far as this PIL is concerned. But the larger question on whether we have complete transparency or not still remains.
Yes, that larger question is a policy argument. Should you have a specific fund for this disaster, which is administered by people who are in office, described ex officio, and if money is collected from the public and paid out for public welfare, should there not be transparency in the accounts and put up somewhere and audited by a public authority? That's a separate debate altogether. The Supreme Court judgment today was specifically on a legal argument. The legal argument was this, that all disasters, now there is the NDRF, there is a provision there for funding. Therefore, even this money should go into that fund alone. The Supreme Court has refused to buy that argument. Essentially, what has happened is this, that the PM CARE Fund is money collected from the public, administered by the PMO, administered by other ministers, but not audited by the CAG. That is the situation in law. That particular challenge, sub silentio, the Supreme Court seems to have accepted today.
Okay, Vivek Reddy, would you like to respond? Do you think going
Well, I
forward,
think this is too premature of Sanjay
greater
Hegde.
transparency will be good?
Yes. Sanket, let me tell you, if you are looking at audited statements, I think this is not the time when you look at it. Now, the money is being collected from about April 2020. We are just down for about 4 months. Where is the question of looking at audited statements? Yes, those statements will come, and there will be accountability. There will be transparency. Let me tell you, let us not simply raise questions at this premature stage, even before there could be completion of audition and the audited statements,
So audition-
and then say, look here, there is
auditing
no
will happen.
audited statements.
Can I
So
What sort of
auditing will
argument is
happen
this? And
at
that
the
is
right
where-
time. That's what
that
Vivek
is
Reddy
where
said.
the
Very quickly,
Congress
Supriya
today-
Shinit.
Every moment the
just have a very
Congress
small
or
point
every
to make,
moment the
Sanket, and
opposition
that
or
point
every
is
moment some
that if
force
money
goes
is
with
being
PILs
collected from
Supriya,
the-
Supriya.
and
Yeah.
trying to raise questions against the government, and they are failing.
No, that's
because
okay. Vivek
their
Reddy, I don't
intentions
think
are
there is a
nefarious,
problem
as
in
you said.
raising questions against the government. I think the point over here is whatever the Supreme Court has decided by disposing of this PIL, the larger question on greater transparency in PM CARES funds and questions being asked of the government remain. I mean, I don't think there is anything wrong if people are asking questions of the government. Supriya
Well,
Shinit.
who
Can I
said the
just-
government will not be
I'll just
transparent?
take 10 seconds to say
government
one
will
thing.
be
I think the
transparent.
Supreme Court, Vivek, please, it's my turn to speak. I
Yeah.
think the Supreme
Yes.
Court has let go of a remarkable opportunity to hold the government accountable, because this is money that people put in the fund, and the call came from the Prime Minister's office. You know, the Indian Railways has contributed to this fund. 1 day of people's public salaries has been taken into this. How can this money not be accountable? And the Supreme Court has made a huge departure from its own
No,
past
but then
track
Supriya,
record.
that's exactly what Vivek is saying, that it will be accountable at the
Yes.
time when it is supposed
No,
to
no,
be
I'm
accountable.
sorry.
How?
One second.
How?
Accountable and audited by a private auditor.
Okay,
That should
Sanjay
be
Hegde.
audited by a
Sanjay
private
Hegde asked an
auditor.
important question, very simple and short, important question. How? Sanjay Hegde.
Yes, how? Supriya was saying it will be a private auditor. Will the private auditor carry as much credibility as a CAG audit?
Absolutely.
That is the real
Vivek
question.
Reddy, answer. Very quickly, Vivek
Well,
Reddy.
Well, I think, there are too many doubting Thomases in India today, like Sanjay Hegde and Supriya. We don't have to satisfy every doubting Thomas, because the doubting
Let's take
Thomases
money
will
from the
never end.
public.
They
Please
will
get
never
audited
put
by
a full
public
stop to their
auditor.
doubts. They keep saying, oh, if I produce the audits, then they say this audit is not right. Well, till now the argument was, where is the audit? Now they say there is a
The
private
only
audit.
person
What
who
sort
is
of argument
private
is
in this
this?
is the
I
auditor.
mean, let us be realistic.
ironical
You
is
want
that?
transparency. Who said that there will be a private auditor? Let us see what happens.
That is exactly.
There will be
there is a
accountability,
private
there will be
auditor.
transparency.
There is a
4
private
months down
auditor
the line,
who will be
4.5
appointed.
months down the line,
You know what
you're
the
already
lawyer
asking
says
for
about
transparency and
Okay,
accountability. How do
very
you presume
difficult
that
to
it will
hear
not be there?
people.
The
3
government's
people are
position on
speaking
how can you presume?
simultaneously.
This is
I-
so absurd. This
Okay,
argument.
No, I
Vivek
don't
Reddy,
think so.
Supriya
All
Shinit.
The money is being
Vivek.
collected, it is being
Before
defrayed
this-
and spent,
You should
it
speak
is
to
in the
government
process of being
representatives.
spent, and they are saying, where is the transparency?
Okay.
Who said transparency will not be given?
Okay,
This government
Vivek Reddy,
stands on
Supriya
the
Shinit, as well as
Absolute
Sanjay Hegde,
transparency.
thank you so much for participating in
Thank
this
you.
short duration discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is an important issue, and we'll talk about this in the future as well.